I'm Dr. Denise Sawyer-Fat-Angus, the Public Relations Officer for the Tobago Council of the People's National Movement, and we welcome you here this afternoon to our press conference. The Tobago Council acknowledges the significant achievements of both Tobagonians as individuals and the Assembly as an institution in 2011. As such, we feel that it is paramount that in order to continue and further enhance the positive achievements of Tobagonians and the overall development of the island, the changes in the THA Act and the Constitution represented by the Assembly bills are needed now. In fact, the PNM sees no reason why a speedy resolution cannot be achieved, and reiterates that a lot of work has been done in a process that occurred over the last 4 years, where Tobagonians have spoken and the Assembly has approved the bills in the House without amendments. And we are aware that the bills have now been submitted to Cabinet by way of letters through to the Secretary of the Cabinet, the Attorney General, and also to the Office of the Prime Minister. We must not forget, though, that although the minority leader and the TOP abandoned the process in the end, that they were really involved from the start when it was their motion that the Assembly supported and installed the committee in order to see it through. Also, the minority leader was involved in the midway when he signed that communique endorsing the process. However, the exercise ended without the support of Jack and the TOP when they staged walkouts for ill-advised reasons of illegality. The Tobago Council is pleased to note that from recent events, the Attorney General Anna Lamgogan does not share the views of Mr. Jack and the TOP concerning the illegality of the process. And we say this since he actually invited the Chief Secretary to a meeting with him and his legal advisors in discussions about the bill. We are aware that coming out of those discussions, the AG has now committed to actually taking the bills further to Cabinet for discussions. The option which Mr. Jack now peddles to the people is one devised amongst a small group of persons who did not get a mandate from anyone to do this. And it was sent forward by the UNC the UNC-led government in the form of a green paper that gives us so much less than what we deserve. We wish to reiterate that the PNM has always supported the process because it was a process that involved the people. The PNM currently condemns the efforts to foist the green paper on Tobagonians and insists that the bills approved in the House must be the documents on which the test of the process is based, and that is none other than the Assembly bill. The green paper is not a representation of Tobago's views and cannot take precedent over the documents submitted by the Tobago House of Assembly. The Assembly bill was submitted to Cabinet on behalf of all Tobagonians. As such, Tobago will be betrayed and its aspirations will be frustrated if the proposed green paper forms the basis for negotiations with the central government. In fact, there is no recommendation in the green paper that has not been provided for in the Assembly bill. Although there are many recommendations to the changes in terms of the Act and the Constitution, there are really 6 areas that have major impact and upon which Tobagonians must not compromise. Autonomy is about responsibility, and therefore the first issue that is addressed in the bill is who is going to be responsible for what. There have been numerous examples over the past 2 years since May 2010 where, there's a lot of controversy with the central government actually coming into Tobago and getting into areas where it is clearly the area of responsibility of the Assembly. And therefore, this has to stop. And we are saying that those areas where there is considered to be gray areas or not, the bill now recommends that all functions related to the administration of Tobago except for 11 functions that are clearly specified to be retained by the central government. In the green paper that Mr. Jack puts forward, they want us to share additional functions between the THA and the central government. Frankly speaking, we consider this a step backward in our history. More responsibility means more money, but we cannot adequately address more money until we understand what are we worth. According to the current arrangement, Tobago, the size of Tobago is determined by about 6 nautical miles off the shores of Tobago. According to the green paper that Mr. Jack puts forward, they have just added 4 additional nautical miles, which would make it 10. The PNM, the people of Tobago, and the Assembly is requesting that we are classified according to any other classification of islands within the hemisphere, and that means that we are defined by international standards. And what that gives Tobago, the size of Tobago now moves from what they want in terms of 10 nautical miles to 200 nautical miles. Now that doesn't simply say that we own more sea. What that gives to us is the fact that there are marine resources within that area that now Tobago has, some form of ownership of, and therefore has to be officially involved in any discussions that would take place with any activities occurring within that region. Of course, knowing what we are worth, but wishing to maintain a mutually beneficial relationship within a unitary state, the bill generously recommends that the new budgetary allowance be 8% of the national budget. We know that some persons have put forward that it could be as high as 10%, but we are saying, according to the bill, that we are asking for 8%. We are not sure what Mr. Jack and the Green Paper based their calculations on, since they suggested 6.9%. However, we at the PNM are convinced that they are not serious about it, since, no TOP representative expressed disappointment with this year's national budget when we only got the same 4.03%. Autonomy in its truest meaning must have an individual or country make decisions and be able to carry out those decisions without having to ask mother, father, brother, or sister. Therefore, the Assembly bill requests for a change that allows the Assembly now to borrow funds from elsewhere in order to continue its own development. The Green Paper does not allow for any of that. It does not even address that issue. The last 2 areas to be discussed have the most relevance and cannot be taken lightly in respect of the phenomenon of globalization. The first 4 that I would have discussed really impact on the development on the island. The next 2, which is what we talk about, eligibility to vote and eligibility to be elected, these speak to our cultures, our values, our traditions, our rights, and our privileges, and therefore must be given serious consideration. This council believes that the people of Tobago and this PNM Assembly are loud in speaking to the fact that an individual must be a resident in Tobago for at least 4 years, and that it is the same period for someone to have the opportunity to be elected. The Green Paper does not address this, and the silence of Jack and the TOP on this issue continues to show their lack of understanding and unpreparedness to defend what is important to the people of Tobago and future generations. It is confirmed that all decision makers have the bills, which represent the aspirations and the expectations of the people of Tobago, and therefore the ball is in the court of the central government. It is in their court. This PNM wishes to advise that it is standing strong and will support the use of any legal means to have Tobagonians get what we want and what we deserve. As such, we will continue our sensitization drive through our public meetings, cottage meetings, and all means necessary to ensure that the Tobago position remains at the forefront.